Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Critic 2 Group, and today we will be discussing further on the case study, which is based on the autobiography of Al-Ghazali, Deliverance from Error. First, this presentation will begin with credits and comments on the previous presenters. For presenting group, we find that they have a good flow of presentation, and besides that, the content of their presentation is informative and comprehensive, while the slide is simple, clear, and nice. However, there are a few comments which include the incorrect technique used for the in-text citation, and also their video transition is not very smooth. For Critic One Group, their presentation is also very informative and comprehensive. Same with the presenting group, this group also has a nice, simple and clear slide. However, we would like to comment that their presentation is too lengthy and over the time limit. We also find that they can improve their presentation by using simpler words and by stating the meaning of Arabic terms in their slide. This is to help all students to understand the content better. Our last comment for this group is that there is a presenter who misspoken the content. For this case study, our stand is we agree with the presented standpoints of the previous group. We agree with the solid stance, efforts, and approaches taken by Imam Al-Ghazali in his pursuit to seek for true knowledge and to find answers in his self-love. His excellent and unyielding attitude throughout his quest for truth was definitely something we should admire and be emulated to produce great contemporary Muslim thinkers that are equipped with both adab and higher degree of knowledge apprehension. Today's presentation will be divided into 5 parts, where the first part comprises of summary of previous presentation, followed by concepts in seeking knowledge, adab according to Surah Al-Qiyamah, issues or gap in the education system, and lastly, on the reflection. So, let's start with our first agenda for today's presentation, which is on summary from the previous presentation. Based on the points which has been presented by previous groups, the first thing that we would like to highlight is that we need to continuously seek for knowledge in order to survive. Knowledge is one of the most precious wealth in our life. Even when compared to money, knowledge is still much more valuable as a surviving skill. For example, we need knowledge on how to hunt, plant, and fish in order to find food. Plus, without knowledge, we may be misguided from living a life with dignity which followed the Al-Quran and Sunnah. The second important point that we can derive from previous presentations is the need to fix the method on how we seek knowledge. Most people tend to seek knowledge for the sake of others' acknowledgement, such as to get a better job offer for better life or even as a requirement to be a good child for their parents. However, people tend to forget that the main purpose of seeking knowledge is actually to improve our life and attitude, as well as to ponder on Allah's powers and greatness. Seeking knowledge also is done to strengthen our iman.
Third is be knowledgeable. Be knowledgeable does not mean that we know everything, because in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 216, Allah has mentioned, and Allah knows, while you know not. Thus, we should not be so disappointed if things don't work as we wish or plan, because being so disappointed can lead us to blame our taqdir and refuse to accept qada and qadar. This may lead to disbelief in Allah. If things did not work as we planned or wished, we must see it as rahmah, because it is mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, also in verse 216, but perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. Fourth is beneficial knowledge. Beneficial knowledge is the knowledge that can improve our quality of life and increase our fears toward Allah, because we know how powerful and great is our Creator. Thus, the knowledge can create a barrier between us and sin, because we will always be careful in our action and keep away from His prohibition. Next, I will present our second point, the concepts in seeking knowledge, in which we can find the relation between istiqomah, wasatiyah, siratul mustaqim, and ihsan. First is istiqomah. The literal meaning of istiqomah means to go straight into the right direction, acting rightly, allowing no deviation. It is derived from the stem qiyam, which implies the continuity of doing something, following up with it, and making sure that it is done in the right way and there is neither deviation nor swerving. Allah the Almighty says, "So unto this religion invite the people, stand steadfast as you are commanded, and do not follow their desires." Surah Al-Shura, verse 15. Indeed, reaching istiqamah is a challenging mission, so the Prophet said, "Be straight on the path or be close to it." It can be argued that istiqamah is to remain firm and steadfast to what Allah has ordered us. For example, to meet commitments and resist prohibitions. We should also not encourage ourselves to obey or be fooled by impulses, as it can cause deviation and lead us astray, whether it is our desires or others' desires. Second is wasatiyah, which means something that is good and is in a position between two extremes, which is to weigh two extreme situations so that it does not get out of hand on either one position based on the objective of Islamic law. In the educational sense, the wasatiyah principle is introduced with the intention of finding a point of equilibrium not only as a mechanism for the providing of material, expertise, and superficial skills, but also as a process of self and system transformation. Therefore, education based on the idea of wasatiyah is education that incorporates mental and physical knowledge and both self and society-related religious knowledge. Third is Siratul Mustaqim. Having a concrete belief in the command of Allah above all and with humility in one's action before the Almighty, a real Muslim often seeks aid from Him to eradicate all kinds of trouble and give himself the peace of life. One also pleads to God for an approved means of living during daily prayers while reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. Guide us to the straight path. Surah Al-Fatiha, verse 6. No one was ever committed to the instructions of the religions of peace than Prophet Mohamad ﷺ, who acted as the best examples for his followers in every regard. Yet he always asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for assistance for his guidance in granting piousness and purity in all matters. So it shows that one should always seek help from Allah to be able to adopt and stay on Siratul Mustaqim, especially in seeking knowledge. There are 4 ways to acquire Siratul Mustaqim, which are fearing Allah Almighty, praying to Allah for steadfastness on Islamic way of life, reading the Holy Al-Quran, and believing guidance is only from Allah. And last is ihsan. The meaning of the Arabic word ihsan can be translated as excellence, righteousness, or deeds of goodness and beauty. Ihsan is the highest form of worship. Worship, however, is not limited to ritual worship such as fasting, salat, and zakat. The Quran and Hadith urge Muslims to seek ihsan in every aspect of our lives. For example, we are asked to seek ihsan in speech and even in knowledge. The Quran says again and again, Allah has created us so that He may see which of us is most excellent in deeds. In Surah Al-Mulk verse 2, Allah has said, He who created death and life, that He may try which of you is best indeed, and He is the exalted in might of forgiving. In this sense, metrics of achievements in education, such as standardized test scores and grade point average, may be used as instruments. They do not assess success in education, but they are certain instruments that can help us see if our actions are in the right directions, among others.
Okay, now I will explain more on adab, which is according to Surah Al-Qiyamah. This surah was sent on the Prophet to show the people of Quraysh the power of Allah over anyone else. As explanation in Surah Al-Qiyamah from verse 40 to 15, the object of placing man's record before him will not be to inform the culprit of his crime. Otherwise, every man fully knows what he actually is. For the sake of knowledge, he does not need another one should tell him what he is. So the meaning behind the verse, Everyone knows what they are and what they are capable of. People can deliver error and fool others, but they never fool themselves as they are aware of it. In the relation with the case study, we can take from this ayah that it is very important to be self-aware, as the Imam Ghazali critiqued himself by not being able to perceive the true form of knowledge. Next, as explanation in Surah Al-Qiyamah from verse 16 to 19, in this ayah, Prophet ﷺ was instructed to not try to memorize the words of the revelation, but listen to it attentively and carefully. And it is our responsibility to enable you to remember it by heart and then recite it accurately. And rest assured that you will not forget even a word of this revelation, nor ever commit a mistake in reciting it. So the meaning behind this verse are, to be a knowledge seeker, it is very important to listen very carefully and not to rush the knowledge. The word litak jalabi in verse 16 means to not hurry and rush. This is a lesson from Allah, said that to not hurry the knowledge as everything will be revealed. In the relationship with the case study, the way that Al-Ghazali studied everyone carefully with the best adab as he went in with no bias and gave all of them a chance. So the adab that we can take is to always listen before we take an action and to always look from every perspective of the knowledge before deciding anything. Next, we move on to current issues or gap in the education system. Okay, according to Nurrul 2011, the primary function of schooling was seen as a passport to employment, and the certificates are seen as controlling entry into privileged jobs. As a result, the emphasis by students, teachers, and parents is on performing well in public examination, which are considered the only valid measures of academic attainment. Like many other countries in Asia, examination and assessment are considered extremely important in Malaysia. The outcome of public examination are often viewed as important national measures of school accountability. However, excessive emphasis on assessment and examination may constrain or distort the implemented curriculum and produce unintended consequences. So, Malaysia need active learners who have acquired problem-solving skills, independent thinking, and autonomous learning along with the ability to work cooperatively.
Like many countries in Asia, examination and assessments are considered extremely important in Malaysia. The outcomes of public examinations are often viewed as important national measures of school accountability. However, excessive emphasis on assessment and examination may constrain or distort the implemented curriculum and produce unintended consequences. So these are some of the recommendations for this issue. The first one is a paradigm shift from traditional teacher or lecturer-centered to student-centered. Second one is experiential learning should be integrated in every level of education. And the third one is elements such as values, attitudes, emotional, spiritual, and physical development, in addition to intellectual, should be included. Malaysia needs active learners who have acquired problem-solving skills, independent thinking, and autonomous learning, along with the ability to work cooperatively. Schools should focus on different types of teaching and learning strategies, such as cooperative learning, group work, and other learner-directed modes of operation. School performance indicators should also be broadened to include a range of social outcomes such as school attendance, behavior, self-image, and a range of attitudes towards school. Consequently, teachers' attitudes, feelings, and perceptions must be recognized well before the launching of any innovation. Likely discrepancies between the teacher's opinions and ideas underpinning a curriculum innovation needs to be identified, analyzed, and also addressed. The next part is on the reflection. So there are 5 conditions to achieve istiqomah in performing required deeds. The first one is the act should be done for the sake of Allah alone, which is ikhlas. Second one is it should be done on the basis of knowledge or ilm. And the third one is performing ibadah should be in the same manner that they have been commanded. The next one is restricting oneself to what is lawful while performing those deeds. And the last one is to do it in the best way possible. So there are several steps to be followed in order for us to achieve istiqomah.
And the first one is always being aware of the final destination or the day of judgment, also known as Akhirah, and to use this awareness in a positive way as a motive to do good deeds. One of the Salaf said, "Until you live until the morning, do not wait for the evening, and if you live until the evening, do not wait for the morning." The next one is commitment or musharatah. One has to make a commitment that he or she will be steadfast and will do things in the right way and in the best way possible, and to adhere to the conjunctions of Islam. The next one is to make continuous efforts or mujahadah to bring that commitment to reality. And the last one is striving for improvement or tahsin. We have to make improvements in all that we do, and that includes daily activities, work, actions, good deeds, and also ibadah, as one of our objectives. And for the conclusion part, the main intention of seeking knowledge is to bring us closer to Allah and to strive for His blessings both in this life and in the hereafter. Thus, seeking for true knowledge is our responsibility, and this will save us from deviation and also misguidance. As mentioned in Surah Al-Ankabut, verse 69, "And those who strive in our cause, we will certainly guide them to our path, for verily Allah is with those who do right." These are our references, and that is all from us. Thank you.